Hey guys, how's it going? It is Mike from Mike's Garage. Today I got another good one for you. Today I'm going to show you how to properly do an oil change on one of your cars. I'm going to show you from A to Z how to get everything done properly and securely and safely. Today I have the wife's Hyundai in, so we're going to go ahead, I'm going to put it in the air. I'm going to show you how to jack it up. I'm going to show you how to chock the back wheels, drain the oil, everything you're going to need. I'm also going to bring in some of my little tips that I learned from the dealership world, how to check everything while you're under there, how to check your suspension, things like that. So let's go ahead, let's get right to it. First things first, always you want to be safe. So when you're jacking the car up, you always want to take two 2x4s, put them behind the back wheels. I do this as a first step with anything, I don't care. Even if I don't have the parts yet or what have you, this is always the first step. So you can see, because this is a front wheel drive car, once you lift the front of it in the air, nothing's really holding it. So this is going to stop the vehicle from rolling backwards or anything. And then another thing I like to do, set that parking brake. Make sure it's locked down and it's not going anywhere. Even though the car's in park, it could still roll, it could still move, anything can happen. So my main thing here is safety. You don't want to lift a vehicle up and have it fall, and even though the wheels are there, you know, you still have a potential of getting hurt or anything happen, and I want to make sure we're as safe as possible. So next, I'm going to show you how to properly lift the vehicle. Alright guys, now there's two ways you can lift a vehicle. One is from this pinch weld right here. Yeah, this is a weld that holds the body together, runs all the way to the back of the vehicle. Or my preferred way is from the frame. I think that's the safest, I think it's the most secure, and that's how I'm going to show you to do it today. So the best way to do it, let me set the phone down here. Okay. So you can see you have this brace here. This brace is connected to the subframe. Subframe's right there. It's all bolted up. The subframe is what holds your engine, transmission, your axles, your whole front end together, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jack right here. I wanted to leave enough room forward so that I can put my jack stand there. It's properly mounted, properly make sure it's secured. I'm going to lift from here. This is a nice flat area. I'm going to put my jack stand here, which is a nice flat area. There's no way the car can shift or move or anything once it's properly secured. Alright guys, so now that we got the jack properly on the frame, this is right below the frame. You don't want to put it all the way up. You don't want to max it all the way out, because if you max it all the way out, your jack won't be able to let it loose next time when you're trying to let the car down. So I usually put it on, you know, you're going to find what's comfortable for you, but I usually go just a little bit below the second to last lock. So now this is properly locked down. It's really not going anywhere. Make sure we're right in the middle of the frame. One thing too, don't ever put your hand in between the frame and the jack. You definitely don't want to get hurt that way. Now we're going to slowly let the jack down onto the frame, or onto the jack stand. There we go. So now this side of the vehicle is locked. I got the wheel off the ground a little bit. We're going to go ahead and do the other side. Alright guys, now that we have the vehicle properly up in the air, everything's secure, I like to do one more thing. I want to go around, I want to kick these pieces of wood one more time, make sure they're firmly on the back wheel so this thing can't roll at all. That thing is on the back wheel. This one, that thing's there, it's not moving. So we know the vehicle's secure. We know it's not going anywhere. One more thing I like to do, I'll take a push right at this fender. And pushing it a little bit. Don't try to slam on the ground, just pushing it a little bit. I want to make sure when I'm underneath that nothing's going to fall down. It's not going to come crashing on me or anything like that. So now the vehicle's up in the air properly, the tires are off the ground, vehicle's up in the air properly. Let's go ahead and lift or pop the hood. Wish you should find it. Could be here, could be right here, or here. Those are the three main spots that it'll be. Pull that. And I don't know if you can see in there, you really can't. There's a lever that you gotta either pull to one side or pull to the other side. Sometimes you might have to push it, but usually it's just a left or right. So here we have the motor. Now, I like to start, I always take the oil filler cap, and I will always put it here. My first boss told me I'd rather replace a cap than replace an engine. That in the dealership means sometimes you're just moving so quick. There's so many things going on. There are guys who forget to put oil in your motor. It's insane the things that you see messed up sometimes, but things happen. I understand people are just learning and things like that, but that is one step I have always taken. That, if you ever see me do an oil change, will be here 10 out of 10 times. No doubt. That's not anything I ever slouch on. So, when you're up in the engine bay, inspect everything. Check everything out. Make sure it's looking good. Make sure there's no corrosion on your battery terminals, which there's not. Everything looks good. Check your battery date if it has one, this one doesn't. When you get a second, check your air filter. Check your power steering. Check your coolant. Fill your washer jugs. Look around everything for oil leaks. Look for coolant leaks. Follow the hoses everywhere they go. Just look for problems, something that could be caught now that can't, that could be devastating in the future. Just check everything over as best as you can. So my thing, I always start left to right. That way I know I'm checking everything. I know I'm not missing anything. And I just think it's better practice that way, to have a system to stay in the rhythm. Just keep going, Right here you can see coolant line's at the full mark. That's good. But you always want to open it, check inside, which I don't really know if you can see it, but you can see it's a nice green. It's looking good because I did just change it. I just had to do a radiator in this thing. And then next, power steering. You might need a light for this one. At least this reservoir you will. Take your flashlight, go on the side. I know you can't really see because it's bright outside, but it is right at the max. It's right there. I really hope you guys can see it. It's actually a little bit above that. You can see it right there. So the power steering is good. So we take our cap, put it right back on. We know we're gonna need washer fluid. Okay. So I leave that open. It's a bright blue cap. I mean, you really can't miss it. You just see it dangling there, you should know that that's next. Now we check the battery, but now let's check the brake fluid. And this is a good indicator of many things. Right here you can see the brake fluid levels right there, right below max. So if the brake fluid's too low, meaning it's at the low mark or whatever, that can mean you need brakes. If it's completely empty, it can mean you have a leaky wheel cylinder, leaky lines, just anything like that. You could have a leaky sealer on the boot. You could have a leak coming out of the reservoir. You never know. But since it's at max, and I know we don't have any braking issues because I just went and drove it just to double check everything. But now, go ahead and pull the cap off, and you can see the fluid is fairly clear. It actually looks really good. It's starting to darken a little bit, but it looks dark in there because it's on a black surface, and it could just be the camera maybe, but it's looking really good. So next, it's going to be the air filter. Now some air filters can be different the way you got to inspect them. Some you might have 10mm bolts, some you might just have clips like I just did. You never know. But, oh man, that looks good. bottom of it. You can see some dark spots, but I mean, if you look inside, the clear test for this, I'll show you real quick. Find the sun, look at it. If you can see through it, it's good. You can see through it everywhere there. That means it's good. If you can't see through it, that means it's plugged up. You might have to take an air hose and clean it out, or you might just have to replace it, you know? So, put this back in. Make sure everything's locked in. We're missing a clip there, but that's okay. This is locked in. You can see this kind of came off, so re-secure that. Now, what I like to do, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and just double check everything else that I haven't really checked. Look at the lines. Lines like this, like look what I just caught. I don't know if you can see, but that piece of hose is cracked. That's for emissions, so that'll need to be replaced here in the future. But just check your electrical components. You got your coils here. Do they look like they're, you know, wearing? Or do you see any electrical burns or anything on them? Anything like that, just anything, you know. You can find so many things just by doing a good visual inspection. That's one thing I've noticed that separates really good mechanics from bad mechanics, is a clear visual inspection in the beginning. I mean, that's so important, guys, it's not even funny. So, now that we got all that, I have my motor oil, I have my drain bucket, I have my socket and everything right behind me, so I'm going to go ahead, I'll get under the car, and I'll meet you guys under there. Alright guys, we're back in here. We have the drain plug here. Our oil filter's up here. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start to drain this oil. Should just have, take a little bit, but it should come right out. We'll go ahead and let it out nice and slow. Now this is draining. Just let it drain. Let it come to until it comes to a slow grip. And then once we do that, we're gonna go ahead and loosen this oil filter. And you see I spilled a little bit on my drain pan there, but now I always wear oil change. Absolutely. Sorry, that was my neighbor. But so once this comes a slow drip like this, I'm gonna pull it forward a little bit more to get to the oil filter. Might lay back on this side to do it. But you want to get a glove that's got a little bit of good grip on it. If you can't get an oil filter wrench on this like you can on this one, it's nearly impossible. This glove might not work. Might have to bare hand it. You know, go through and try different ways that I think you might be able to get this thing off. You might have to throw a strap wrench on this thing. Don't ever do anything half-assed too, since you know you got this here, just skip out on it, you know? So, we'll go ahead and get this out of our way for right now. Put that on very tight. This. Wipe the excess off. I got a little rag over here. Wrap it on my glove. Now, when you're tightening this thing, they say to tighten it like 25 foot-pounds, or 25 foot-pounds. So, if you don't know what that is, just, if you have a torque wrench, that'd be even better, so you're not guessing, but take it, don't fall off of it, take it, give it about a quarter of a turn. Don't go crazy ripping the threads out of this and everything, but just give it a little bit, and then I always do things in threes. So I'm gonna check this 3 times. Just give it 3 good pulls. 1, 2, 3. That way you know this thing's nice and tight. You've checked it, you've checked it, you've checked it. It's not gonna come loose. So now what I'm gonna do Just muscle this oil filter off if I can. If I can't, I got a little trick too. Alright guys, I have this. Need to get a good look at it, kind of point you in the right direction of where to go. And really just gonna have to massage it on there. These are kind of a pain in the ass with these Hyundais, but you know. Alright, we're on. So we'll hope we're on the right way. And it starts leaking down. We're loose, just kind of, there we go, let it all drain out. I'm going to put this glove back on so we try to keep as clean as possible. And now that we're out, there we go. I got one more thing to show you guys before we put this other filter back on. So let's go do it. Alright guys, one thing I always like to do before I put the new filter on is I want to inspect the filters. Make sure they're the same. Make sure they're kind of the same diameter, the same height, same thread inside. And you can be able to do that just by the naked eye, so we're just going to go ahead and do it. The first thing when you're inspecting your old filter, first thing, most important, make sure that O-ring's there. If that O-ring's there, I've seen it countless times where it's not there, and then somebody will put the new filter on the double gasket. As soon as they start the car, oil just pisses everywhere. So make sure that's all the same. Now these openings look to be exactly the same. You're never going to know by a naked eye, but make sure there's no burrs inside here, you know, no metal shavings, anything like that. Make sure it looks clean and good inside, besides what I just touched, you know. And again, that O-ring is so important to make sure it's there. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. This has one, this should have one too. So let's go on and put the new one on, because these look absolutely identical. I know they're different brands and what have you, but that's why you always want to check, just to make sure they're the same. So we're going under there, I'll put this in, I'll show you what to do from there. Alright guys, we are back under the car. We're going to put this oil filter back on, and I want to show you a little something that I like to do too. So once we're on, now we're decently tight. That definitely won't fall off, but like I said, I always do things in threes. I have this glove for better grip. I'm gonna go in there and see, I got probably another half a turn out of that thing. I'm still getting a little bit. Now you don't want to go too crazy, and it is just an oil filter, but you definitely don't want to leave it loose. Let's see if we can't get you up in there. See? I don't know if you even can. If you can see, it's right next to that belt, in between the block and the belt. That's why I was having such a hard time getting it off. So that was one. I know I said I do things in threes. One. Two with this. One with the bare hands. Nothing. That oil filter is not coming loose. So now, let's get everything out from underneath the car. And then what I like to do is I like to take a rag and just wipe everything down. I'll show you here in a minute. So, alright, you guys see a little oil ring right there? Just a little bit. Take it, just wipe it off. Make sure we're good. The drain plug, wipe it off. Wipe the area off. And then I'm going to show you one of your last and final steps while we're here. So, I know I mentioned that I've worked in a dealership for a while, about 4 years. Now I'm working over there with one of our municipalities. So one thing you learn is proper suspension check during an oil change. So you got the wheel. You're gonna take the wheel. You're gonna grab it in 2 different spots. You're going to do a side to side and an up and a down. A side to side, if it's loose or you feel any knocking or anything like that, that's going to indicate a tie rod end, a tie rod bushing, anything with that sort of system. Up and down, it's going to indicate a strut mount, upper lower control arms, things like that. So now you can have a little bit because the wheels are in the air, the steering wheel's not locked. That's fine. Up and down is great. What we're going to do while we're here, let's go ahead and look at the components. Make sure they're good. Everything looks good there. There's no oil leaking from the strut or anything like that. Your tie rod boot looks great. Lower control arms properly secured. Axle looks good going all the way back. No leaks. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you on the video, but this does need front brakes, which I'll be doing here in a little bit. But if you can get a mirror and go in between the housing, the caliper and the housing and the caliper and the rim, you should be able to look at the back of the brake pads and just see how thick they are. So now that we've checked this side, it's always good practice to go ahead and check the other side just to make sure we're good, which I'm going to do now, and then I'll show you what to do from the top. Alright everybody, I checked that other side's good. So I'm using is O'Reilly's Premium. O'Reilly's Premium, I know, is made by Amalie Motor Oils. Amalie Motor Oils at our work is what we use to do oil changes on our police cars, on our fire trucks. That is our majority of the oil that we put back in. That's a motor oil that I've always trusted, always liked since I've been in the field since 2012. Cap on just like my boss told me. Rather buy a cap than buy a motor. And what we're going to do is we're going to check the oil level real quick. Always check it. I check it twice and then I start the car, let it run for 30 seconds, and I check it 2 more times. So we're going to pull the dipstick out, clean it off, get any marks of any other oil out. That's looking great. I really hope you guys can see it on there. See, it's right above the full mark. I know it's hard to see because it's so fresh, but... And just so you know, it's okay that your oil is going to be above the full mark because you haven't started your car yet. So the oil filter is not primed, so there's no oil in the oil filter. So that's going to happen. But so before I start the car, what I'm going to do is go ahead, take the jack stands out, start the car, check everything one more time, left to right, right to left. I won't bore you guys with all the details because I already told you in the first half of the video. But I'm telling you, if you double check everything, if you take your time and do it right, you will not have a problem, guys. This is easy stuff. This is first day stuff. I mean, if you're very new to cars and it's your first time doing an oil change, I really appreciate you taking the time and watching this video with me and let me show you everything. Now there are a few things I didn't show you, like checking the rear end. This doesn't have a rear end, but checking the back of the car, checking the diff, checking the drivetrain, things like that. This is a front wheel drive vehicle, so I didn't have anything to do that on, but when I get the oil change done in my truck, I will show you guys how to do that properly and safely. And besides filling that washer fluid, boys, we're good to go. So like I said, I'm going to set this thing down, I'm going to start it up, and we'll be good to go. Alright guys, now that we have everything done here, the oil is checked, the cap's back on, we're good to go. Thank you very much for the view. If you have a question or comment about the video here, please leave it in the comments section. You have a recommendation for another video, please leave it in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. If you like what I'm doing here, thank you. If you don't like, please leave a comment and tell me too, thank you. Don't forget to check out my Instagram page. It would be Fire Truck Mechanic, all one word, Fire Truck Mechanic. Thank you guys again very much, and we'll see you on the next one.